This is a tutorial on how to breadboard. So what I'm going to show you this morning is all the things that you need to breadboard and to get a circuit up and running. So the very first thing you need to do is actually have a schematic diagram that actually represents what you're going to build. So this here is my schematic diagram, and we've already gone through the symbols. So this is a symbol for a battery, and it's going to be represented by the negative there and the positive there. Okay, and then also we have the next part is going to be a resistor. That's going to be represented by one of these guys. So that's the symbol for the resistor, and there it is there. And then finally we have the LED. Now what you're going to do is you're going to connect up the battery to the positive, the positive of the battery to the resistor to the LED, and then the LED back to the battery. Okay, and that's the battery ground. You don't want to just hook them all up. Like, you can do this. Grab the resistor, put it to positive. I can take the LED, put it to negative, and then what I can do is simply touch the two together and I get my light coming on. Right? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but as soon as you get past a couple parts, it's a real pain to do that. So what we're going to do is learn to breadboard. So a breadboard is this. Okay? And you can see, I'm going to flip it around this way. Across the very top, okay, there is a red line, and underneath it, I'm going to grab my pencil here, underneath there's a blue line, and then you've got 5 sets of holes here. There's a break right here, and then 5 sets of holes, and again there's this red line, blue line. What I like to do is put the very top corner up here is my positive. Okay, that represents the red wire. And then the very bottom one I like to be my negative. And what that means is all the way across the top here is then positive. Okay, so when I flip this over, what you'll see, and this is just an old beat up breadboard, is that there's a metal piece that runs all the way along the top. And then there's a break between the two of them. Then there's the next metal piece, which represents the blue. Okay. Then there's a break, which then represents the 5 holes, and you can see that there's a spacing between them. So when I look at this, these 5 holes are connected, these 5 holes are connected, but they don't connect side to side. Okay? So how I like to start, as I said, positive is in the top left corner here, and and the negative's in the bottom right. So I'm just going to put this down for a second. And what I like to do is take the tools, and I'm going to teach you right now actually how to strip wires and things. So I'm going to take a red wire for positive. I'm going to take my wire strippers, okay, and as you can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open them up, okay, and I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to squeeze down gently. Now watch where my thumb is. It's kind of hard to see. I got my thumb behind here, and I squeeze down gently, and I just push, whoops, and I push along, and wire pops off. I'm going to switch it around the other side. Okay, let's watch this again. Put my thumb in, thumb's right there, and I just pull. And I'm pushing at the same time, and that strips my wire. So I'm going to take that wire, and it's going to go into my positive, which I'm going to put in the top left corner. And I'm just going to do this. And sometimes, if you need to, you can use a pair of needle nose pliers. Okay, then I'm going to take my negative wire, and I'm going to strip it as well. So there's my one strip. This goes a lot faster. There's my other There's my other strip. If you push down too hard, you actually cut the wire off. Okay, and there's my other strip. Now, if you look at how far I've actually stripped this wire. Let's see if you can see this on the video. Okay, I've only stripped it about 5 to 8 centimeters long, and that's because I'm sticking it in the breadboard. If you look, you can see that. See how far I'm going in. Okay, you want to go in about 3/4 of the way in. Okay, so when I put this in, and I'll put this down. Okay, if it's too long, it actually comes out the bottom and goes somewhere else. Okay, and then it short circuits between them and can mess you up. So there's my positive negative wire, and they actually represent now my red and black coming from my power supply. Okay, so there's the first two things. Right? Now, if you look on the drawing, the schematic diagram, okay, the positive goes to the resistor. So that means the positive's right here, and it's going to come down this way. Okay, so I'm going to take a resistor, and I'm going to bend it in half. Now there's a couple different ways of doing this. I can do it with my fingers and just bend it in half like that. Okay. The other way you can do it is the neater way is you take a pair of needle nose pliers. Whoops. And I take my needle nose pliers and I can hold on to it and then I can just bend it, and that gives me a nice neat bend. Okay, so it's bent like that. And then I'm going to stick it into my breadboard. So I'll stick it from the positive and I'm going to stick it in like this. And you're going to notice I put it in straight upside down. So you look at this, okay? Straight upside down, nice and neat and tidy. And I like things in a very straight line. Okay, it's a lot easier to see what's going on later on. So there's my first thing. Next, I'm going to grab my LED, and if you look on the schematic, the resistor connects to the LED. So one right after the other. So these two have to connect. So on the breadboard, I'm left with these two holes for one side of the LED to connect to the resistor. I can't put it here, okay, because if I put it beside it, it doesn't connect. So it's got to be in line. And you also know on an LED, if you look at this, see if I can get the right angle here, you see one leg's longer than the other, right? You know that the longer one is the positive one. It's got to go towards the positive side of the resistor, or sorry, positive side of the power. So I'm going to take it, I'm just going to spread these out a tiny bit, and I'm going to put it in right across the gap. Okay, so now what you have is you got it like this, and you can see it's across the gap. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Now I haven't made it too blurry. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is I need to get the LED to ground. So when you look at this, I have the LED here going to ground, right? And ground is the black wire. So to do that, I need a third wire, and that third wire, and I'm just going to tilt this like this. That third wire is going to go from here in line with the LED down to the bottom here. So I'm going to take this blue wire, and this is where I get picky. I'm going to strip the first bit. Okay, so there's my first end stripped. I'm actually going to cut my wires. Now, these are called side cutters. You don't need these. Okay, they're really only needed when you're soldering. But I'm just going to cut this a bit. Now, if I try and strip this, it's really hard to hold on to the wire and do this. So what I like to do is I like to grab a pair of needle nose pliers, like this, hold on to the wire, whoops, hold on to the wire, take the wire strippers, and then strip out the other side. And you can see how I just stripped that. Okay. Then once again, I can take the needle nose pliers and I can bend this nice and neat and tidy. Okay, perfectly 90 degrees here and here. Okay, so there now is my wire. Whoops, let me bend it down a bit. So there's my wire bent like that. And then it's going to go from the negative to the other side of the LED. Okay, and then here you can see there's the wire nice and flat. You can see everything's in a nice row. Okay, I can look at this and I can see exactly where everything goes. The problem is that if you start bending wires up in that, and they're all up in the air and stuff, after about 10 or 15 wires, it gets really, really complicated to start figuring out if something's not placed right. Okay, so there it is there, and then I put it down, and I'm going to take my positive and my negative, and I'm just going to move this. Hang on a second. Just going to move this over here so you guys can see it. I'll take my positive. This is set to 9 volts, just like the lab says. And there's my negative, and there's my wire coming on. Okay. And there's my LED nice and bright. Okay. And really, that's all that there is to breadboarding. Okay. Now, just to confirm it one more time, positive goes to resistor. Positive, which is off the screen here. Let's put it back on the screen. So positive goes to the resistor. The resistor and the LED here connect to each other. So resistor connects to LED right here. Okay, and I'll just bring that up closer. Right? So resistor connects to LED right there. Okay. The LED bridges the gap. So you can, the LED is not connected to itself. And then the LED follows along to ground. Right? And if I look, the LED then here, the LED from right here follows to ground. And then it goes back out the black wire and out to the power supply. Okay, that is the basics of breadboarding. Now, a couple quick things to prove some stuff. If I take this, okay, and I put these guys side by side, So you can see that side by side right now, and I can see I get the angle there. You can see that the LED doesn't work, right? So that's a no-no. Those are not connected. Okay, they got to be in a row, right, or in line. So there's like that. Okay, and I hope that makes sense. Okay, a lot of kids, what they do is they think that this is connected, right? And you can see that these guys aren't connected side to side. They're connected along, right? So I'm going to make sure that it's up here. Okay, and there's that. Okay, now what I mean by messy wiring is this. You don't want stuff all bent like this, okay? And you don't want wires where, you know, I've taken a wire and I've got it way up in the air. Okay, so this is bad. Okay, taking this out, it still works. Okay, so I'm just going to take this out. You can see the LED goes off. But if I take this blue wire and I put it up in the air like this, okay, you can see it still works. Okay, the problem is that when you get about 10 or 15 or 20 of these parts and all these wires are up in the air everywhere, okay, it makes me a big mess, and then it's really hard to find what's wrong with it. Okay, now just to conclude, I'm just going to straighten these back up. Okay, oops, the best I can straighten that guy up. I'll put my little blue wire back in. That's all nice and neat and tidy. And there it is. And when I look at the back of this thing, okay, just to confirm, so I'll flip over, right, oops, so I got the positive up here, okay, all the way across the top. I got the resistor going from here to there, so when I flip it, right, so the resistor goes here, down, so here, down. The LED goes from here across this gap to this guy, right? LED goes to the resistor across the gap to there, and then the blue wire goes down to negative. Therefore, the blue wire goes from here down to negative. Okay, that is all there is to breadboarding as a basic. There's a lot more things later on, but that's how it's going to get you going for the first couple labs. Hope this helps out.